Welcome back to another episode of Fox Can Fix It. You made it back. You made it back just in time for us to start doing some work on this Dodge Raider I picked up. I have my assistant slash co-owner of the vehicle putting the radiator back in. This radiator has a paper towel that's allegedly keeping it from getting rust in it, but obviously that didn't work at all. Yeah, I wonder if there's any fluid left in it. There's a lower hose still on it. Guess there's a chance that there's fluid. No chance. My plan for this missing upper radiator hose is I've got a universal hose, but it's a lower hose. You can tell because it's got a spring in it, but it's not really gonna make a difference for our purposes. So we're gonna go ahead and slap this on. I think it's pretty close to the right length if we bend it enough. And it's not gonna kink because it's got a spring in it. So it'll be fine. What we got?
I thought that I could have tightened it a little bit more.
Oh, you can. Those both need to be tightened more. Yeah. You have to make sure if you're putting radiator hoses on to put the clamps on first. That's not going anywhere. Also, that's a rule. Once you tighten a clamp, Allison, you have to kind of tug on it and say, that's not going anywhere. It's a fact. That's not going anywhere. See, if you didn't say that, it would probably fall off. Okay, that's good. Okay, crank it again. All right, you're good. Okay, I think we got most of the transmission fluid out of there. Captured it in this ecologically sound container. All right, now that we got the cylinders cleaned out, we're gonna move on to spark plugs. And this is the spark plug we need. There's a number on the side of it, like the R9YC number. Okay, so there should be 2 in there, and then grab the best of the 3 over there. Yep. All right, so you found 4 good plugs. Yep. All right, here's what we're gonna do is take one of them, and you put the hose over this porcelain like that, so it's sort of stuck, and then you put it down in there and start threading it by hand. So in each one of these, you're gonna put it in here, and you wanna get it threaded until you can just pull this hose back off of it and it stays in there. Okay. So that way, you're not cross-threading it. If you put it in with the tool first, that's aluminum and you can strip it. So do that. All you have to do is snug it. You don't have to go crazy. Like, ugh. So did you spin all those down till they stopped? Mm-hmm. Yeah, then you're just gonna have to go where like I'm going. See how like stop and a little bit of tension, that's it. Yeah, you got 2 more. Can you go get the spark plug wires out of the back, and we'll try to match up the missing ones we need. This is your distributor cap. Okay, and so the plug wires all hook into here, and we got 1, 2, and 3. And the engine rotation goes 1, 3, 4, 2 in order. So, and it should go clockwise. So this top wire, can you see where this one goes? This one right here.
This one?
Yeah, see where that one goes. Is it long enough to go all the way to the back, or only to like here or here?
It goes to here. It
goes to there? So that's number 3. So where does this next one go? This one right here. This one. Where does this one go? Yeah. That's number 4. So 3, 4, 2. We're missing number 1. So we just need a short one. That one's really long. This one's not. That might work. We'll organize all these because they're not in the right routing. Back, and that's got to go to 4. I can get you more room. There you go. Now go snap it onto 4. That way you don't cross the wires. You want to sort of keep them separate as much as possible. Good? So they're snapped on? Yep. Okay. So now we've got all our plug wires on, but we haven't really looked at the cap and rotor to see how disgusting it is, so we should probably do that. There's a clip there and a clip here. And it's a little rusted. I'll get some sandpaper. Not gonna hurt this at all, but see 1, 2, 3, 4, those points. Take the sandpaper and just get all the rust off of all those. And then when you're done, this part of the rotor, see where it looks like a little fork? Yeah. Just get that cleaned off too. See if our brake fluid's still in there. It is, it's still full. I don't think there's a brake leak. I think it just evaporated. Yeah, you just Basically, I'm going to clean up all that. And then when you're done sandpapering, we're going to spray it out with some brake clean and then wipe it, and then we'll let all that air dry. Because you don't want to go and create spark with brake clean. It'll go boom. Bad things. I guess I should check the oil. I haven't even checked to see how bad the oil looks. Nothing on the dipstick. Great. There's no drain plug in the pan. That's why there's no oil in it. Great. I'm gonna borrow this for a minute. So, not even joking, there is no drain plug in this oil pan. That's great. All right, we just got back from the parts store. I got some drain plugs. Hopefully that oil pan, one of these is gonna fit. I think it's 14 by 1.5. And Allison's gonna take the old filter off because we're not even gonna try to fire it with that filter if it's been exposed to the elements for this long. Oh, it's already loose. You don't need this tool. The oil filter's loose. That's nice. All right, grab a rag and then just take the filter off so your hand doesn't get all dirty. Unscrew it and go throw it in the trash. Okay. It was the 14 by 1.5. That's good. Now we have a drain plug. A little bit of oil and wipe it on the O-ring like that. You don't need much, you just need to be like that. And now you put that oil filter back on the engine. Tight. It doesn't have to be He-Man tight, but like snug. Yep, you're good. Okay. Current situation. We're bolting the carburetor on. It's not plumbed with any fuel, but we'll fill it up and see if we can do anything. Cap and rotor have been cleaned. Plug wires are on it now. We did find a plug wire that worked. It's got 4 plugs in it. It had no oil drain plug, which is not a good sign. We're gonna put nuts on the carburetor, tighten it down, throw some gas in it, and then we'll crank it and see what happens. The accelerator pump does work. Good. This carburetor has some life to it. Well, all right, only one thing left to do but to crank it, I guess. Go ahead and get in and act like you're trying to start it, and maybe it'll start. Oh, I don't know if I'm ready or not, but go ahead. Okay, that's enough for now. Let's see if we have spark, because it doesn't sound like we have spark at all. All right, so we cranked it, and it doesn't appear to have any sort of spark. And I came over here and looked, and the 2 wires that actually go back to the distributor, well, they're not actually hooked to the coil. So I guess I need to power and ground these, and then we'll try it again. We're good now. Okay, so, well, let's try cranking it again. Fingers crossed. Okay, go for it. All right, stop. The choke is completely closed on it. Let me hold the choke open. Okay, go ahead, try it again. Nope, okay. Go ahead and crank it. Okay, stop. Do it again. Okay, stop. We still don't have spark. Well, it's been a couple days since we last tried to start this. Problem that I found was that there was no spark. And what it turned out to be was a pickup coil. I tested the ballast resistor, I tested the coil, and then I tested the pickup coil. And I'll show you what all 3 of those parts are. But pickup coil's bad, nobody had it on the shelf. 2-day wait, got the part, and now we're ready to try to start it again and see what happens. So when we had no spark, I tested the ballast resistor, which is here. What you can do is disconnect the wires and put an ohm meter across both of these. For this particular model, you should have between 1.3 and 1.5 ohms. I had 1.5, so it's on the top end, but it's okay. I tested the coil, primary and secondary sides. They tested out fine. I forget the numbers on it, but it's low on the outside and it's in the thousands on the inside. It was okay. They were steady. They didn't do anything weird. The problem we found was the pickup coil was bad. The pickup coil is this black piece with 2 wires on it that essentially does the same thing that your points used to do. Center piece here with the 4 spokes on it, or 4 posts, that's gonna be the same thing as an old cam gear in a distributor, where the high point would disconnect the points, magnetic field collapses, boom, spark. This was bad. It was supposed to be somewhere under 1100 ohms, and it was in the mega ohms range, so it was dead. I did a compression test. Not thrilled with the results. What I had was 150 on the front, which is perfectly fine, 60 on the second one, which is terrible, 90 on the third one, which is bad, but not terrible, and 70 on the back one, which is terrible. My hope is that this cylinder is the one that was closed up, which is why it still has great compression. The other three were at least partially open to the elements, either through the exhaust or through the intake, and they've got rings that are stuck. It's entirely possible because there was no carburetor on it with nothing covering that hole, and the exhaust is actually cut right there. See that? That's the end of the exhaust. I think somebody was going to take this motor out and didn't because it was stuck and they couldn't get it unstuck because nothing was hooked up. Got my distributor hooked back up now. Let's crank it and see what happens. It's probably not going to be pretty, but it should run. Come on now. All right, we definitely have spark now. You heard this thing sort of sputter and try to do something. So I took some time to go ahead and adjust a few things and get it ready to maybe possibly start and run. Let me show you what I did. First of all, I put the water pump alternator belt on, just in case it actually runs. It might charge the battery. That'd be good. On the carburetor, you can see I've got this NASCAR style throttle cable set up. I went in on the idle speed screw. It was backed all the way out, so hopefully we got something there. I've got my choke set just perfectly. I checked the fluid levels, and by all means, I think this thing should run. Let me plug the fuel pump back in. And it makes fuel pump noises, but I don't want it on the exhaust. That would be bad. There we go. Now we're up away from exhaust. This thing should start and run. It sputtered before. It's now got fuel. The carburetor is adjusted slightly better. Let's see what it does. Oh, I didn't even have to touch the throttle. That is running. It doesn't have any exhaust, so it's pretty loud. But it's running. Water pump is spinning. Nothing circulating yet, obviously. Let's see if we're charging. Yep, there you go. Charging. I've got 40 pounds of oil pressure. And I am at, oh, hard to see, 900 RPMs. We're gonna let this thing run for just a little bit and I'll shut it off, let it cool off, and then I'll check compression again, and hopefully we've got more compression than we had earlier. I think the rings are just stuck and we should get compression back up fairly easily. But there you go, man. This thing runs. Or if it'll go in gear. No, we're not gonna push it. All right, we'll let this idle for a few minutes and see if the rings will come back. Day 3. I decided to go ahead and let this engine cool off overnight, and we're going to check compression this morning. This morning for me, I don't know when you're watching this. Cylinder number 1, we know it's good, so we're only testing the back 3, which is number 2, 3, and 4, since there's only 4 of them, 4 being at the back. And hopefully we get better than 60, 90, 60. I think we will. I think it was stuck rings. I think the fact that this thing ran, warmed up and cooled off, unstuck the rings. But, you know, trust but verify. I already trust it. Time to verify. I'm not even worried about reading the plugs right now. That is a Weber 3838, and when I bought it, the guy had it on a Jeep 258 or 4.2. So I know that that thing is going to be jetted way too big for a 2.6. And yeah, these are all black. But they're not wet, so I know they're firing, which is good. All right, let's just go in order. 2, 3, 4, what do you think? Sounds like a plan to me. Get this out of the way, and then we can possibly say, hooray, this is good. And if so, we'll move on to other things in the next episode. This is the last thing that's going to be on this episode. I can tell you that right now. A, I'm tired of making this episode, and B, I need to put an episode out eventually. If I just keep going with this whole thing, I'm never going to get an episode out, and there'll just be one episode on this whole thing, and it'll be like 4 hours long. So this is definitely going to be the last thing for this episode. Don't forget to unplug your coil wire. Otherwise, this thing might actually light off, and that would be bad. All right, no more coil wire. Throttle is held up by a screwdriver. Let's see if I can put this in a place where you can see it, maybe? No, yes, no. Zip ties. Let's make a thing. You might as well be able to watch this, otherwise I'm cranking it and then coming out and lifting this up for no reason. Be like, oh, look at the gauge. You can probably see the gauge before me. If you see a good number, shout it out. There you go. How's that for science? All right, I'm gonna crank it. You wait here. You've got between 125 and 130. More than 100% improvement, and I'm gonna say anything between 125 and 150 is gonna be fine. Let's move on. So that was one of the 2 worst cylinders. Now we're moving on to number 3, which was the best of the worst. And hopefully it's more than 90. I'm gonna go ahead and say that this is gonna be upwards of 135. All right, can you still see that? You good. Ah, bang on 135 actually. Winner, winner. I'm going straight to the showcase. This one was between 60 and 70. Any guesses what this is going to be now? The last one that was 60 was 125. This one was slightly higher than 60 sometimes, but not as good as 90. So, what do you think? Huh? This could be the zip tie moment. No, it's already trademarked. There we go. All right, got that one? All right. Let's see, if that was 60 to 70 last time, I'm gonna call 130. Okay. You decide. Ready? You decide yet? Good. Let's find out. That sound different to anybody else? Sounded different to me. Weird. All right, what do we got? Holy crap. 145. That became our second best cylinder. How about that? I'm not gonna say mission accomplished because when has that phrase ever worked? But I will say that my original belief that it was just stuck rings from sitting open to the atmosphere and getting moisture on them appears to be correct. 125 is a little less than I'd like, but I've also only run it for about 5 minutes, so maybe 10. I think as we get this thing back on the road and run it more, that's going to improve. Not that the order matters. These are the same spark plugs going in different holes. It's not like I'm dealing with some sort of lifter or rocker arm situation. It's not like, oh, this spark plug's already been in this cylinder. You can't run that in a different cylinder. It'll make no difference. Now, are there times with a worn out engine that you may have a single cylinder that is burning more oil than others, and you run a hotter plug specifically in that cylinder? Absolutely. Is that a great idea? No. But sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do? Yes. Got lots of little things to do. I'm gonna have to write down a list because it's a lot. It's been off the road for a long time, but engine's good, so we can move on. If the engine was bad, my list was gonna be completely different. So that is officially gonna do it for today. Thank you for watching, everybody. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you're here. You probably already do, but you know, pass it along. And hopefully, when I've got my list put together, sometime about 7 days from when you see this one, I'll see you next time. See you then.